Where my girls at? Where my girls at? Independent, free spirit. Ooh, it's something serious. Where my girls at? We link up in a cool minute. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. It's going down tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going down tonight. Yeah, right. It's going down tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going down tonight. Yeah, right.
Where my girls at? Where my girls at? You are tuned in to 9:10 a.m. the Superstation with We Got Issues with the Force of Friendship. And it is a thankful Thursday. We're almost at the weekend, you guys, and we're excited to be here for another powerful, informative show on today. Yes, yes, yes. We're excited to have you tune in each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, from 6 to 7 p.m. And we are here with the Force of Friendship. And you know what? We do not have perfect attendance on today. We're missing one of our girlfriends, Gloria. Gloria is not with us on today, but I think she'll be with us on tomorrow. So Gloria, wherever you are, we hope you have a super fantastic time. We are absolutely missing that $1 million smile. But of course, we have our two girlfriends accounted for and present. I see Sabrina Goodwin Monday is in the house, and our girl, you know her, Caterina Harris Earl from the West Coast and the East Coast. She is here, and we're excited to have with us our special guest on today is none other than Dr. Vanessa Robinson. She is a Detroit native. She is with us on today. And when I tell you this is going to be a great conversation, we're talking about the Omicron variant on today. A lot has been said, but we want to break it down. You know, for those of us who are not doctors, for those of us who are not scientists, we need to make sure we understand what this variant is and what we need to do. I don't know about you, but every other week, every other month, it seems like there's another mutation of the coronavirus. So we want to know, how does that happen? You know, is this something we're going to have to live with for the rest of our life? Just when we think it's safe and we're starting to get a handle on it, bam, another mutation of the virus comes along. So we're going to talk about that on today. But before I introduce formally our guest, I'm going to throw it over to Sabrina. Sabrina, what's going on in Geneva Neck, Ohio?
Oh my goodness, Chris, it's so good to see the girlfriends. I'm so honored to have the doctor with us to help us better understand what we're in the midst of. Just when we think we're getting ready to breathe again and get out and about, here comes something else. So I want to hear what the good doctor has to say. I am boarding a plane, a jet, a red eye to Las Vegas this evening. And so
got some money? Got some money that's burning in your pocket? Got some money?
Got some money, baby. Got some money. Got some money. Yes, yes, yes. Actually going out there to see Princeton University, where Quincy will be competing this week in a big, big tournament. Some of the top guys in the country will be there. So we'll be out there cheering on those Princeton Tigers. So that's what we're going out there for. Have a little fun along the way. So over to you on the West Coast, Caterina Harris Earl. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing great. Today is a good day. One of those days you feel like you got a lot done. You still got a lot more day to go. And this is the topic I want to talk about. I want to know for myself. Got a little traveling coming up as well. And this is top of mind. It is so important. So, Chris, since we see Dr. Vanessa Louise Robinson, I can't wait to get to know her. And so glad you had her on the show today. So let's get to it.
Okay, all right. Well, we are going to go ahead, and I am so elated to introduce to We Got Issues audience, our Facebook audience, this amazing woman, Dr. Vanessa Robinson. She really is more like family to me and my family. She is our doctor for everything. I promise, if we have a sniffle, if we have a cough that's lasting too long, we don't go to our doctor. We got her on speed dial. Dr. Robinson, what do you think? I mean, her name is called so much in the Ellis household. I'm surprised she hasn't changed her name. But when I tell you, we absolutely love her. She was my father-in-law's doctor, Bishop David Ellis. Ellis, she was his doctor. So she has a long history with the Ellis family. So I'm just going to introduce to you her formally. You know, of course, I know her, love her, but I want you to know she is super bad all day long. Dr. Vanessa Robinson, she is a native of Detroit, and she graduated from Cass Technical High School, and she earned her bachelor's of science degree in zoology. And you know what, Vanessa, I probably knew that, but forgot that, in zoology, and a doctor of medicine degree from the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, Michigan. After graduation from medical school, she completed a residency in internal medicine at Henry Ford Hospital, Detroit, Michigan. She also served as chief medical, you guys heard that? Chief medical resident, one of 2 African-American females who have served in that capacity. She is currently a senior staff physician in the Department of Internal Medicine with a thriving practice. And again, to know Dr. Robinson is to love Dr. Robinson. And when I tell you this chick, and she know I'm lovingly calling her chick, she is smart, okay? She got a lot of brains in that head of hers. And so, Dr. Robinson, welcome to We Got Issues. We're excited to have you today.
Thank you so much for this invitation. First Lady Crisette, I love my First Lady and my pastor. And I give greetings this evening to Caterina Harris Earl and Sabrina Monday. And in her absence, Gloria. And I'm so grateful for this invitation. And I thank you for being invited with this force of friendship. Friendship is so important. So I admire your network and your friendship.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Robinson. Thank you so much. Well, we, again, are so glad that you could take time out of your busy schedule, because I know you're really busy. I know it's a lot that's going on in the hospital. But let me just read a little bit of the research that I found. It said the Omicron variant of SARS-CoV-2 is the latest strand of the coronavirus to be designated a variant of concern by the World Health Organization. More and more countries are reporting cases, and it has an unusual combination of mutations that may enable it to spread faster. Scientists are also trying to determine whether the current vaccines are effective against it. And you know what? When I heard that, Dr. Robinson, that really had my eyebrows go up. And, you know, there's a little bit of concern whether or not, you know, our vaccines have a good efficacy against this mutation. So, Dr. Robinson, bring us up to speed. Tell us about this new variant and, you know, what we should watch out for. And before you do that, tell us, how does viruses mutate? How does that happen?
Well, a mutation means that there's a change in the genetic material. We have DNA, which is our main genetic material, and it orchestrates all of our functions and our RNA. Now, viruses do not have the capability of replicating. They have to get into a cell and replicate, and they take over that cell's machinery. So when a virus mutates, it changes its genetic composition, and the mutation may be transmissible. So what they've discovered with this Omicron variant is that its genetic material has mutated so that it's mutated so that the spike protein that the vaccines have been directed against, it looks like the Omicron variant has mutations that may decrease our body's ability to detect an infection with a COVID vaccine, or a COVID virus, I should say.
Okay. Wow. So that's interesting. So now, can you talk a little bit about, okay, so and this is just, you know, how you hear a lot of information. Why does the virus mutate? Is it somebody said viruses are intelligent, so they're trying to survive. So when we think that we've gotten a vaccination, it's trying to come up with a new strand so that it can survive. Is that right?
Well, in a sense, yes. Viruses mutate all of the time. The flu virus, you know, many of us are familiar with the flu virus and we get flu vaccines. The composition of the flu vaccine is changed every year because the virus mutates. And it's true, the virus is trying to survive, so it will change its genetic composition to adjust to whatever is countering its ability to reproduce. So the vaccines that have been manufactured so far are directed against the spike protein. That's the little spike that you see on the coronavirus, and that is what it uses to enter our cells. Again, viruses have to get inside a cell and take over the cell's machinery in order to reproduce. So they found that there's several mutations that this Omicron virus has. Some of them are, and many of them are directed against the spike protein. One is that one mutation is that antibodies that we've developed against the coronavirus may not recognize this Omicron virus because it's mutated. Another mutation makes it easier to cause infections in the upper respiratory system. Another one makes it more infectious. So those are some of the concerns that the scientists have at this point, although they are still studying the genetic makeup of the Omicron virus, and the jury is still out. They're still they're studying it, but there seems to be some evidence concerning the things that I just mentioned.
Okay, wow, that's very powerful and it's very informative. We have a guest, and we're going to go ahead and go to our guest before we go to our first break. Brian, are you there?
I just want to ask a couple of questions. In this past year, I noticed, and I'm not putting anybody down, but hopefully my comment or my perspective is respected. My Black people in a city that's being lost, we have turned to a white guy in another city doing some mass shooting. Detroit's being stolen. All these cities is being stolen. Now we talk about a variant or whatever that we don't know anything. I'm being honest. All the guesses where it started, I don't think nobody knows anything other than the government first. Two, my Black people lately have turned into doctors, scientists. I've heard more doctors or scientists on here about this, taking the shot, not taking the shot. I'm not taking the shot. I'm going on 62. If it kills me, it kills me. I'm telling you, this I called in specifically on your show because most of you guys are religious or go to church. I still stand that it's a name and it's a time, and I don't want to hear no, you can speed up. That's the most stupidest thing I heard. You can speed up your death or you can do something. No. From the time I'm born, there's a time for me to leave this earth, how I leave this earth, and everybody that's in between that we interact. We're supposed to just take care of each other and love one another. But no, that's not going to happen because that was written too. We're supposed to go through the struggle. So all these new teachings I respect and I appreciate your comments and what the show is. But a lot of the hosts, I don't get it right now. The groups of us that talk, we believe that some of the hosts get together and there's some checks being cut because I've never seen that many people talking about something like they're doctors. And even if you're a doctor, there's doctors that won't take the shot. And I want to leave on that note. Explain the doctors that won't take the shot.
Brian. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
thank you. No, I'm just gonna say thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, you had a question.
No, I don't have a question. I was just going to say to you.
Yes.
I was going to say to you, if you let me finish, thank you for calling in. We appreciate your perspective, but please let me say, I don't know how often you catch We Got Issues. We haven't really talked. Okay, so we're show, we talk about everything. We talk about what's going on in the news. We talk about entertainment. We talk about a whole lot. I just want to set the record straight that we are always, let me finish. Okay, we're going to a break, and you can stay on if you want to hold on, Brian. We'll finish this conversation after the break. You're listening to We Got Issues on 910 AM, the Superstation, with the Force of Friendship. Our guest today is Dr. Vanessa Robinson, and we're talking about the Omicron variant. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Talk Radio.
All right, we're coming back hot. We're coming back hot from the break. Brian, are you still on the line? Okay, great. Well, you know what? We have a guest here, and I'm going to have Dr. Robinson respond to your comments and your questions. Why are there doctors that are not taking the vaccination? And you can go ahead and respond to his other comments, Dr. Robinson.
Well, first of all, the vaccine evidence is strong to show that it is protective. For those who have taken the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine is 96% effective in protection against the COVID-19 virus. The same thing for Moderna, 96% effective and 84% effective for those who have taken the J&J vaccine. And to take a vaccine is an individual choice. There are some people who feel that the data does not support its efficacy. I disagree with that, but to take a vaccine is an individual choice. I have patients in my practice who won't take flu vaccines, they won't take tetanus vaccines or whatever. So you have to make up your own mind in terms of whether or not you want to accept the vaccine. Now, I think one issue that affects African Americans in our country is that there is a distrust of the healthcare system for whatever reason. And sometimes because of, and the other issue is misinformation. There is a lot of misinformation about the COVID-19, about the vaccine on the internet. There's misinformation sometimes from some of our relatives. And the most important thing is that the vaccine issue has become politicized in our country, which is so unfortunate. We, our elected officials are elected to look out for our own welfare and benefit. I saw today on CNN that says if you're from a red state, you're 50% more likely to die from COVID-19 than if you were in a blue state. So I think these are the issues. People have to make up their own mind to take the vaccine. Nobody is forcing them to take the vaccine, but I submit to you that there seems to be so much controversy and issues concerning this COVID-19, whereas with other medical conditions, it's not an issue. If you go to the dentist, you have a toothache, they take out your tooth, they give you something for pain, you pop the pill in your mouth, all right? If you go to the doctor with another ailment and they prescribe a medication, you take it, without question. Many of us, when we were younger, we got vaccinated. Our parents had us vaccinated. I still have the mark in my arm where they scratched. And I remember going to the gym to get that sugar cube that had that pink stuff in it, all right, to get a vaccine. And I'm still here. All right. So it's an individual issue.
That for those individuals being individual, or you don't want to comment on the doctors that you personally know or doctors that you've heard of that won't take that shot?
I've only heard of 2 doctors who did not take the vaccine. And as I said, it's an individual choice. They chose not to take the vaccine. I personally have taken the vaccine. I'm fully vaccinated, and I have a booster. I don't condemn anybody who does not take the vaccine. It's a choice. I have no control over doctors who don't take it.
Do you recommend a cure or a shot for Black people voting for white mayors and Black ministers get behind them, tearing up a city like Detroit? I just want to know if there's a vaccine for it.
Okay, the vaccine is for a medical condition, not a social issue. We're talking about health. We're talking about protecting a population from an illness.
I'm trying to argue with her. She know what I'm talking about. That is medical. When they cut somebody's water off and they get sick and they die, it's medical. I believe records showing you down, baby.
All right. Thank you for calling, Brian. We appreciate you tuning in to We Got Issues. Thank you so much. So, Dr. Robinson.
Vaccinations is a hot topic. You have those that are very passionate on the side of, I'm not going to take the vaccination. We know that Marcus Lamb, the founder of Daystar, recently passed away, and he was definitely a non-vaxxer, had different things on his show about, alternatives and so on and so forth. And he just recently passed from having contracted the coronavirus. And so, of course, we absolutely want to keep his family in prayer, because people make choices, but there are really real people that are hurting because of that loss. And so, you know, again, you know, to Brian's comment, you know, he's choosing not to take the vaccination. Dr. Robinson, can you speak to, and then I'm going to let the girlfriends jump in. I have heard people say, well, you know, one of the reasons why, and I'll say early on in the process, you know, my husband, Chuck, he got the shot way before me. I would say probably a month and a half, 2 months before I took the shot, because I was just wanting to make sure he didn't grow an extra eye, an extra leg or something like that. I said, I'm gonna let you do it first, and if you know, nothing happens to you, then I will follow suit. And so I know early on people were really cautious and skeptical for a lot of reasons, as you said. But one of the things that I consistently heard was that, you know, they just it came out so soon. They didn't vet it long enough. And, you know, I just think that, you know, they just rushed the process. Can you talk a little bit about that to people that says, you know, they don't think that they took enough time or care when they came up with not the virus, when they come up with the vaccine?
Unfortunately, the operation was named Operation Warp Speed, which was a misnomer. The vaccine was studied, and what many don't know is that the messenger RNA technology has been around for years. The BioNTech, the Moderna company, had been studying the messenger RNA technology for at least 10 years or more. So when drugs are introduced in our country, the FDA is very stringent in terms of new drug introduction. Each of the companies that developed the vaccine studied the vaccine in thousands of people. Pfizer BioNTech had 30,000 people, 10,000 of which I believe were African Americans in our country. I'm sorry, 10% of those studied were African Americans, and the population of the United States is maybe 12% African American, so it was representative. And the studies go in phases. There's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. The aspect that accelerated the research was the fact that when the virus was detected in Wuhan, China, the bioscientists in China sent the genetic material to our bioscientists here. That gave them a big jump start because they knew what the genetic sequence was, and they were able then to formulate a vaccine that would, you know, treat the coronavirus. So I think that's, you know, unfortunately it was named Operation Warp Speed, but it was studied before it was released. And if you recall, the vaccines were given initially emergency use authorization, and the Pfizer vaccine is the only one that has been approved by the FDA. And when they do these studies are not haphazard. They're under very controlled conditions. You know, the participants in the studies are followed. If there's any side effects or adverse reactions, they're reported. And these studies are ongoing. They're continuing even to this day.
Wow. I mean, and that is, I think, a piece of the puzzle that so often is missing, that many people don't understand. And of course, you're right, you know, warp speed made you think that they just, you know, had to hurry up and do something because so many people were dying. But this is the research that has been going on, as you said, for over 10 years. They have been studying this virus. We have a caller, and Pianki, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. Are you there?
It's break time, Chris.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Okay, you know what? I don't want to cut you off. I absolutely want to hear your comment. We are getting ready to go to a break, and when we come back from the break, you are going to be
Okay, so we'll come back to you right after the break, okay? All right, well, we're excited to be here again. You're listening to...
We got issues on 910 a.m. the Superstation. We are talking about the Omicron variant with Dr. Vanessa Robinson. Hey, we want you to call in 313-778-7600. We'll be right back at you after this break.
Most insurance is accepted, so call us now. Please call 800-625-5860. 910, the Superstation, the oldest radio station in town.
All right, we're coming back. We're coming back. We are talking the Omicron variant. And we are having a very lively discussion. We absolutely want you to call in. If you disagree with us, we absolutely want you to call in. So call us at 313-778-7600. We are here today with our guest, Dr. Vanessa Robinson. I want to go back to our guest. Are you there? Okay, great. Go ahead and
ask your question, please.
Well, I want to make a statement. Last call we had, I agree with much that they had to say as it applies to the vaccination. As far as the doctor made mention of the misinformation that's being portrayed, I heard someone say that the vaccination is a choice. But in other arenas, we hear the word mandate. And then we witness where workers are threatened that if they don't take these vaccinations, they're going to be fired. So that really don't sound like too much of a choice to me. And then you have a president that comes on and deceitfully, constantly tells people to take the vaccination. You know, American citizens have liberty that's guaranteed and protected by the U.S. Constitution. And that Constitution has no on-off switch in times of pandemics, viruses, war, or civil distress. And I think that's what we're seeing. Even to the point where they deceitfully use OSHA, which was designed to protect the worker from hazards that they can receive at the workplace. Now they are trying to use OSHA in order to do it just reverse. Make it appear that the worker is bringing hazards to the workplace. That's just not true. I wonder what your comment is on that. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much for calling in and giving us your point of view. We absolutely love everybody's point of view. And I'm going to ask Dr. Robinson. I'll let her respond.
What I will say is that absolutely we do live in a country where we have liberties, but there are certain things that we don't have liberties. I mean, we don't get a chance. There's when there's a red light, you have the traffic signals up there. You don't have the liberties to go on red when you're supposed to stop and stop on green when you're supposed to go. So there are certain things that while we have liberties, there are times where, you know, the government does step in and says for the liberty of everyone else, it's important to put certain things in place. Now, that is just my opinion, but I'm going to ask Dr. Robinson, what do you think about what the caller had to say?
Now, when I said it's an individual choice to take the vaccine, that precludes what an employer may be requiring an employee to do. Now, the vaccine mandates by employers are put in place for safety reasons. The more unvaccinated people that we have, the higher the spread of the COVID-19 virus, and the vaccine mandates are put in place to protect the employee as well as those around the employee. Now, over 780,000 people have perished from COVID-19. The U.S. today has an infection rate of 70,000 cases per day. And most of the infections now, 99.9% are from the Delta variant. And more than 90% of cases are in patients who are unvaccinated. The disease now has become a disease of those that are unvaccinated. So for that reason, employers are making vaccine mandates for safety reasons. It's not violating personal rights. But now, if you still have a choice, if you decide you don't want to take the vaccine, then you will no longer be employed by that company or whoever made the mandate. So you still have a choice. You still have freedom. You have a freedom to choose not to do what your employer says to do. So therefore, it's no mandate for you.
Absolutely. And you know what, Dr. Robinson, in many states, you know, where we're supposed to have liberties, you couldn't work at certain places if you wore your hair natural, if you had dreadlocks, if you wore natural. I mean, employers many times get to choose, you know, what criteria is used as far as what their expectations of their employees. And so, you know, for me, wearing natural hair, there might be an employer that says, hey, you know what, you can work here, but you can't wear your hair that way. Well, that's my civil liberties. I'm choosing to wear my hair like this. So now I have a choice. Either I change my hair or I find another place to work. So at the end of the day, you still have liberties. Caterina, I know you had a question for Dr. Robinson.
I absolutely do have a question. I wanted to comment on what the caller said. For me, I think about it like smoking and cigarette smoke, thinking if you headed to Las Vegas, for years people could smoke on a
right.
plane, they could smoke everywhere. Literally, I am one of the people who that cigarette smoke, there's so much research about what secondhand smoke does, and I'm one of the people who literally, if you have liberty to smoke, I can't go there because I literally cannot breathe. And this is an example where one person's decision can affect someone else. However, I know we kind of veered to talking about the politics of it. We have the good doctor here, and I want to know more about the science of it. Now that we know about the variant, and you talked a little bit about it, what are the next steps? Like, how long does it take before we know if we, how effective it is? What are the next steps? What does the research look like? And so that we can make individual decisions again, because the president did make a statement about there's not going to be a lockdowns, but I want to know for myself, how safe do I need to cut back on travel, that kind of thing. So what are the next steps? How do they research it and figure that out?
Well, the next steps are to study the genetic sequence of the Omicron variant, and bioscientists are working, round the clock in multiple centers in order to discover exactly what's going on. The issues are, the critical issues are, is this new Omicron variant, is it going to cause immunity evasion, meaning that is it going to cause our immune system not to be able to recognize it or to be able to form antibodies? The other thing you want to know is, how infectious is it? The alpha strain, the original SARS-CoV-2 virus, one person could infect 2 people. With the Delta strain, one person can infect 5 people. So that's how much more infectious this is, and that's why it spreads so much. And the third thing you want to know is, are our vaccines effective? So what they're going to do, they're going to study the Omicron genetic sequence and see how effective it is against our vaccines. I've seen projections of 2 weeks for them to do that. Now, if it turns out that the Omicron variant is not as effective against the vaccines, it will take 3 months for them to develop, a new vaccine, or to tweak the one that's already here. So that will be the next steps. But what we can do is what we've been doing. There are certain things that we do that we know will combat viruses. Wearing masks indoors. There's a recommendation that if you're indoors, wear a mask. The other things are socially distancing as much as possible. Washing your hands, which is good hygiene. If you are around unvaccinated family members and they're in your house, they need to wear a mask. The other implications are, we're about to come into the winter season where people in Michigan, I don't know about on the West Coast, we have to spend time indoors. Okay. So we're not, so everybody's inside, and there's some evidence to suggest that the virus survives longer in colder atmospheres. So the next steps would be, the next 2 weeks, they'll hopefully have the genetic sequence, be able to see how effective it is against our current vaccines. And then, if necessary, it may take about 3 months for them to develop another vaccine. But as our president said the other day, it's concern. It's not panic time. And and they are being proactive. They are being proactive. And so and we're grateful for the scientists in South Africa who discovered it, and they were transparent and they shared it with the rest of the world. We now have 2 cases in the United States, one in California and one in Minnesota. And those labs are so sophisticated that they were able to detect this Omicron variant. It goes beyond doing a PCR test or rapid antigen test. They have to break down the genetic sequence. They have to go one step beyond us just getting a COVID test in order to detect this Omicron variant. So for travel, You know, there have been travel advisories issued for South Africa, for other reasons in Southern Africa. The president today said, before you come back to the U.S., if you travel abroad, you have to have a COVID test a day before rather than 3 days before. In the airports, I've flown, I think, 3 times since COVID, you know, no vacation, so to speak, but everybody in the airport terminal had a mask on. They had a mask on the plane. Thank God I was on the plane when nobody was unruly. So when you go in stores, they have signs in some businesses that say, we recommend you wearing a mask if you're not fully vaccinated. I don't know who's fully vaccinated and who's not. So I put my mask on. Even, you know, I still take safeguards. I'm ordering a lot of things online. I go to the market when it's less crowded. So I'm still taking safeguards.
Wow. I mean, all of those are very important tips that we all need to adhere to, because again, with this Omicron variant, we just don't know. We're going to go ahead and go to our last break. When we come back, I know, Sabrina, you have a question for the good doctor. You're listening to We Got Issues on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation with the Force of Friendship. We're talking about the Omicron variant. Please give us a call if you have an issue or comment. We can be reached at 313-778-7600. We'll be right back after this break. Okay, we're back. You are listening to We Got Issues with the Force of Friendship on 910 AM, the Superstation. We have our guest today is Dr. Vanessa Robinson, and we're talking about the Omicron variant. And so prior to the break, we were just talking about, what's next, what we can do to protect ourselves from this new variant. And so, Sabrina, I know you had a question or two for the doctor.
Yeah, Dr. Robinson, thank you so much for joining us today. Just a wealth of knowledge. We always feel secure when we can have a doctor come and break it down for us. It's unsettling. It is unsettling that we don't know. We don't know. Talking about the new variant, we're still dealing with Delta. In Ohio, they said that we have had more hospitalizations this week since January, the beginning of the year, when we were in the deep throes of the Delta variant. And so I don't know how the brakes are put on this thing if people are not getting vaccinated, and the efficacy of the original vaccinations if they're choosing not to get boosted. And now after the conversation with you, it's like we don't even know if the vaccinations are going to be enough to ward off Omicron. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that what I'm hearing you say, right? And
well,
so, talk to me.
Well, for Omicron, they're investigating. So at this point, we don't have a clear answer. The antennas are up, so to speak. This is a variant of concern because of the genetic mutations, but they have not yet come to the conclusion that that our current vaccines would not be effective. They have not come to that conclusion yet because they still have to study it. There is some evidence to suggest that it may be more infectious, but you have to remember, in South Africa, only 24% of the people are fully vaccinated. There is also a substantial amount of people in South Africa who are infected with HIV, which will compromise your immune system. So that already puts you at risk for developing, the Omicron virus. So at this point, as I said before, they don't have enough information. It's just that they are on high alert. They want to be proactive because there's even some evidence to suggest, just like with the alpha strain of COVID-19, it probably was around before December 2019. They've discovered some cases of Omicron in other countries. So it is probably in circulation. And when viruses mutate, by the time it's discovered, they probably have already been in circulation for a while. But as far and there's some optimism, the scientists do feel that the vaccines that we have will be protective against the COVID-19, the Omicron variant, because there have been other variants that have arisen that were of concern, but they did not, it didn't play out. They didn't play out to be as serious as they thought they would be. So I think everyone is trying to, be proactive because of, the deadly effect of the alpha strain last year. It's a novel coronavirus. Nobody knew exactly what to do. We were learning as we were going along. And fortunately, and I say thank God, he blessed the bioscientists to develop a vaccine. If you do get the vaccine, you are less likely to die or have a serious illness or be hospitalized. So the jury is still out in terms of the Omicron. So we're going to be optimistic that it may not be as bad as they say.
Yeah. Well, optimism is good. We need as much optimism as possible. And we just want to encourage people to get the vaccination, get the booster shots. I mean, how do we ever get well as a country if we're staying sick? The only way we can get well as a country is to get a high level of vaccination. So thank you. Chris, what were you going to say?
Yeah, you know what? We have a caller, and I'm not sure if the caller is still there. We only have a few minutes. Caller, are you there? Shamir?
I'm here. Sam, hey, how are you? How are you doing? Dr. Oberlin, I'm going to fast, but I want to ask you, okay, I've been into the health thing for quite a while. I'm 70 years old now. I've been into this thing like 50 years. No legal stuff like take calls, breast and everything. I do everything right. And look here, doctor, I'm not, look here, the first of the pandemic, my daughter-in-law works at a nursing home. I went to pick her up in the nursing home. That's when the pandemic first came. I'm in the lobby with all these elder people, a lot of them. They started dying. And I tell my daughter-in-law, it's a virus. She said, it's not a virus. 8 people in this home I get every day to pick her up. End up dying, these 8 of the people, and I never get ill at all. Now, number 2 thing is, not saying that the virus, I was stupid, and I'm just going around here thinking I catch it now. I'm going to invite into a household. I need to go do some computer work. The young man who had me into the house, mother came in and said, you shouldn't be in this house. I said, all of us got the virus in this house. Why is it? The grandparents who were there that week, both of the grandfather and the grandmother died when the next week was in that house. I never get ill at all. Now, Doctor, what possibility could it be like that? I mean, I have 4 locations right there. I went to get my grandson out in Minnesota. He got the virus. I separated my car and put my mask on and everything. But I never get infected at all. Like, what's the difference? I got a son with an immune system. And I take my physical every year. The doctor looks at my heart and everything. I have no underlying condition whatsoever at 70.
Sam, I'm gonna let Vanessa answer. I'm gonna let Vanessa answer. We only got like 1 minute before we are off the air. Vanessa.
Okay, I think the gist of what he was saying, he had multiple exposures, but he didn't get infected. Okay, it just underscores the fact that this illness is an illness of the immune system. Your immune system is the key. If so, and you have no way of knowing how you're going to react to the virus, and you don't know how it's going to affect your immune system. But let me just say, the important thing is to get vaccinated. Like Sabrina said, everyone needs to be vaccinated. You need to get a booster shot. That is the only way that we're going to get a handle of this pandemic. And as variants come, we're going to be able to combat them. I'm positive about that.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, where did the time go? This has been a very eye-opening conversation. Thank you, Dr. Robinson, for lending your expertise to We Got Issues on today. We absolutely got to have you back for part 2. You guys, you've been listening to We Got Issues on 9:10 a.m. The Superstation with the Force of Friendship. We'll be right back here tomorrow at 6 p.m. Have a great night. Bye-bye, everybody.